I think that focusing on Shariat Kabir, I think is a good way to start, because there's nothing in the narrative that has come out about what happened before August 5th that can be attributed to him. He's not a member of the government, not a member of the governing party. He was even critical of them in the past few years. And that narrative was obviously well prepared. The innocent students being attacked. If you want to attack that narrative, then I think you would have to go into the details of one by one of who was killed between July and August 5th and who killed them to try to debunk that narrative. Because as you say, the general perception, I think internationally, is what has been sold as a student's protest against an oppressive government. Now, to what extent that's true becomes irrelevant, because that's what's being sold. But I think that, first of all, you have to make some cracks. And I think that Shariat Kabir is a case, and perhaps some of the journalists who were, I think there were 2 journalists who were trying to cross into India who were arrested the same day that Shariat was arrested on September 16th. Cases like that of people who have nothing to do with the government, people who cannot be held responsible for what police have done in the streets or whatever. But you have to start, telling the different story in such a way that people can attach themselves to it, and to try to get them to overturn that whole narrative all in one shot. I mean, you'd have to have a major documentary to debunk all of that. And if somebody can do that, it would probably be useful. But in the meantime, I think just focusing on cases like Shariat Kabir's case is a way to perhaps force the present de facto government to take a step back, at least a small step back, and to admit, at least implicitly, that there is some abuse and some improper actions going on in the courts. So baby steps. To just throw the whole thing in one shot, I don't think is feasible. So you have to get them to try to at least slow down, and then maybe take a step back in 1 or 2 cases. Excuse me, and then try to build from there. But I think that's the way most human rights issues end up being addressed in various countries around the world. I remember in Guatemala, there was a woman named Jennifer Harbury, a Harvard graduated lawyer, who had partnered with a guerrilla commander from the Guatemalan guerrillas, and he was captured and then assassinated after he had been captured. He was captured alive, and she made a huge stink in Guatemala. I mean, there were calls for her to be killed, but she was camping out in front of the court, sometimes just spreading a blanket and staying there, just to draw the attention to the one case out of the hundreds of thousands of cases. But sometimes you take one case and you try to focus the energy on that case so that people can understand with that one case, where it's easier to understand, where it's clear, to make them understand that there's injustice going on. And then you can perhaps make them understand that the injustice is not just to this one person, but perhaps to many other persons.